I never thought I'd be the kind of guy to get blindsided like this, but here I am, trying to make sense of everything that's happened. My name's Jake, and I was about to marry the girl I thought was perfect, Rachel. We'd been together for almost 3 years, and everything seemed like it was heading in the right direction. She was beautiful, smart, charming, the kind of woman who could light up a room just by walking into it. I was head over heels, honestly, feeling like I'd hit the jackpot. Looking back now, I realize I was pretty naive. I never really paid attention to the little signs, the odd hours she kept, or the way she'd sometimes get defensive when I'd ask about her phone. Honestly, I thought she was just being secretive because she was busy with work or just tired. I never suspected there was something darker lurking beneath her polished exterior. Plus, she always had a way of twisting things around, blaming me for overreacting or being paranoid if I caught her in a lie. The wedding was just a few weeks away, and I was getting everything ready, booking the venue, planning the honeymoon, the whole nine yards. She was involved, or so I thought, helping me pick out the flowers, the dress, the music. Everything felt perfect, or so I believed. But then strange things started happening. Small things at first. Her phone vibrating late at night, her being unusually cold or distant after certain conversations, and a few unexplained absences. I brushed it off, convincing myself it was just stress, or maybe she was nervous about the wedding. Then came the night I'll never forget. The night I found out the truth. I was checking my emails after work, just trying to catch up on some things, and I saw a message from a number I didn't recognize. The subject line was "Can't wait to see you tonight," and the message was from someone named Mark. My heart sank. I knew that name. Mark was my best friend, the guy I'd known since college. He'd always been a good guy, loyal, funny, the kind of friend you trust with your life. But something about that email threw me off. Why was Rachel emailing him like that? I felt a knot tighten in my stomach. I opened the email, and what I read shattered everything I thought I knew. It wasn't just a casual text. It was full of flirtatious language, talk about how much she missed him and how she couldn't wait to see him tonight. My mind blurred with shock. How could she, my wife-to-be, planning to meet my best friend behind my back just weeks before our wedding? I couldn't breathe. I felt like my world was collapsing around me. I didn't want to believe it at first. I thought maybe I was misreading, that it was some kind of joke or a misunderstanding. But then I remembered the late nights she'd claimed were work emergencies or bad traffic, and how she'd always dodge my questions with a smile and a quick change of subject. The more I thought about it, the more I realized that this wasn't just a one-time thing. It was ongoing. She'd been lying to my face the entire time. I stared at the screen, feeling a cold bitterness creep into my chest. How could I have been so blind? I had trusted her with everything, my feelings, my future. And she was out there, secretly meeting Mark, planning to cheat on me less than a month before saying "I do." The betrayal hit so hard it felt like a punch to the gut. I knew I had to confront her. I couldn't keep pretending everything was fine. But I also knew that what I'd uncovered wasn't just a fling. It was something far more serious, and I wasn't sure how I was going to handle it. The moment I saw that email, everything inside me just froze. I remember staring at the screen, my mind racing, trying to process what I'd just read. My first instinct was denial. Maybe it was a mistake, maybe that wasn't her. But the more I replayed it, the clearer it became. She had been lying to me all along. That email wasn't fake, it was real. Rachel had been sneaking around behind my back, and she was planning to meet Mark, my best friend, just weeks before our wedding. The shock was overwhelming. My hands trembled, and I felt like I was drowning in a sea of betrayal. I wanted to scream, cry, scream some more, anything to make the pain go away. But instead, I sat there, staring at the screen, feeling numb. How could she do this? How could she sit across from me, smile, say she loved me, and then turn around and plan to have sex with my best friend? I kept asking myself over and over, what did I do wrong? Was I not enough? Or was she just that manipulative and selfish? After a while, I knew I couldn't keep this to myself. If I waited, I was afraid she'd go through with it. I had to confront her, even if I didn't know what I was going to say or do. So I closed the laptop, took a deep breath, and waited until she got home. When she finally walked through the door, she looked perfect, smiling, relaxed, as if she didn't have a single worry in the world. That only made the rage inside me grow hotter. I didn't give her a chance to speak. I just blurted out everything I'd found. I told her about the email, about how I knew she'd been lying, about how I'd seen her messages. Her face twisted into this bitchy smirk like she thought she was too clever for me. "Jake, honey, you're overthinking again," she said with that fake innocent voice she used when she wanted to manipulate me. "It's nothing, just some stupid joke. You know how Mark is, he's just messing around." I wasn't buying her bullshit. I could see right through her lies. I told her I knew about her meeting Mark, that I knew she'd been planning it behind my back. Her eyes flickered for a second, but then she shrugged like I was bothering her with petty jealousy. "You're crazy, Jake. You really think I'd do something that stupid? You're just paranoid. Maybe I was talking to him about work stuff. You always jump to conclusions." She laughed it off, acting like I was overreacting. That made my blood boil even more. I saw her trying to manipulate the situation, trying to turn it around on me. The thing is, I'd always been a trusting guy. I never thought she'd cheat, not on me, not before our wedding. But now I saw her for what she really was, bitchy, manipulative, willing to lie through her teeth to cover her ass. That moment, the confrontation, felt like the beginning of the end. I knew I couldn't stay with someone who'd lie and cheat like this. My world was shattering, and I felt so damn stupid for not noticing the signs sooner. I kept replaying everything: how she'd been cold sometimes, how she'd flinch when I asked questions, how she'd lie about where she was. It was one thing to find out she'd been cheating, but it was another to realize she'd been lying to my face for months. And Mark, my best friend, was right there and on it, just as guilty. I felt betrayed, humiliated, furious, and deeply hurt all at once. The pain was so sharp I wondered if I'd ever breathe normally again. I wanted to scream at her, call her every rotten name I knew, but something held me back. I just looked at her, and inside, I knew I had to think about what I was going to do next. This wasn't just a fling. This was a full-on betrayal, and I wasn't sure how I was going to come back from it. The days that followed were a blur of anger, confusion, and a kind of numbness I've never experienced before. I was trying to piece everything together: how I missed all the signs, how I let her manipulate me for so long. Honestly, I kept asking myself, how could I have been so blind? I replayed every memory, every conversation, every moment I thought was normal. Now, all I could see were the lies underneath the surface. Rachel, of course, played the victim. She acted like I was crazy for suspecting anything, kept saying she loved me, and that I was overreacting as usual. That bitch was so good at lying, I started to wonder if she'd ever been truthful about anything. She kept twisting things, saying she was stressed about the wedding, that she was just talking to Mark as a friend, nothing more. She insisted I was paranoid and that I was ruining everything with my jealousy. But I wasn't stupid. I knew better now. I'd seen the evidence. That email wasn't a mistake, it was her secret, her betrayal. And Mark, my supposed best friend, was just as guilty. The thought of that made my stomach turn. I felt betrayed on a level I couldn't even describe. How could they do this to me? How could Mark, my brother in everything, my confidant, my guy, be so two-faced? And Rachel, my supposed partner, lying to my face knowing I'd find out. It felt like my entire life had been a lie, like I'd been living in a nightmare I couldn't wake up from. I kept thinking about the wedding, the plans we made, the vows I was supposed to say soon. I'd always believed in honesty, trust, loyalty. All of that was shattered now, and I knew I had to make a choice. I couldn't stay with her, not after this. The thought of walking down that aisle and pretending everything was fine made me sick. I couldn't do it, not with her sitting there, knowing she'd betrayed me so openly. But I also felt a strange, almost sickening pull. Part of me still wanted her, wanted to believe she'd change, somehow fix this mess she created. One thing was clear: I couldn't keep pretending. I had to confront her again, maybe face her manipulation head-on, or decide to cut her out of my life completely. I decided to give her a chance to explain herself, though I already knew what the answer would be. When I finally called her and asked her to come over, her reaction was typical. She acted like I was overreacting, like I was the one making a huge deal out of nothing. She played the damsel, crying fake tears, insisting she hadn't. done anything wrong, that I was just jealous and insecure, that fake bitch, but I wasn't buying it anymore. I was done being her puppet, her fool. I told her I knew about her meeting Mark, that I had the email, and that I couldn't trust her anymore. She looked surprised at first, then angry, then downright bitchy. "You're crazy, Jake," she spat. "You think I'd do something like that? You're just a jealous fool. Maybe you're the one cheating on me, huh? Maybe you're the one hiding secrets." Everything she said was a lie, a desperate attempt to turn the tables, but I could see right through her. I didn't need her excuses anymore. I knew what she was. The emotional impact hit me hard. I felt humiliated, furious, and broken all at once. I'd trusted her, loved her, and she'd been planning her secret rendezvous behind my back. All the nights I thought she was just stressed or busy were actually nights she was with Mark, lying to me, manipulating me into thinking I was paranoid. That realization made me want to scream. I felt like a damn fool for not noticing sooner, for letting her get away with it longer than I should have. Now I was faced with the biggest decision of my life. Do I try to forgive her and pretend it never happened? Do I walk away and cut her out entirely? Or do I do something more? The pain was so raw, so intense that I couldn't see straight. But deep down, I already knew what I had to do. Enough was enough. I couldn't trust her anymore. I couldn't stay with someone who'd betray me so blatantly. The wedding was off. The future I imagined was gone, and I was left with nothing but questions, anger, and a very clear need for revenge. The decision didn't come easily. Honestly, I spent nights lying awake, staring at the ceiling, trying to figure out whether I should confront Mark directly or just cut all ties and move on. Every time I thought about Mark, I felt a mixture of rage and betrayal deeper than anything I'd ever experienced. That's my best friend, the guy I trusted more than anyone, and he was out there, secretly meeting my wife-to-be, planning to have sex just weeks before our wedding. How sick is that? Eventually, I realized I needed to do something that would teach them both a lesson, something to make them understand just how badly they'd hurt me. I wanted revenge, but not in some reckless, childish way. I wanted them to feel the same sense of betrayal and humiliation I'd been drowning in. I wanted to make Mark see how deep the damage was, and I wanted Rachel to finally understand that her manipulations had consequences. So I set my plan into motion. First, I started gathering evidence. I didn't just want to confront them blindly, I needed proof. I kept a close watch on her phone, her social media, and I even managed to install a discreet app that tracked her messages. Over the next few days, I uncovered more. She was planning to meet Mark again, this time at a different hotel, and she was trying to keep it all hidden. I felt my blood boil every time I found another piece of her lies. That bitch had been lying to my face for months, and I'd been so blind I didn't see it. Then I decided to turn the tables. I contacted a private investigator, nothing too fancy, just someone who could help me gather the full story without blowing my cover. I needed to catch her in the act. I told her I was done, that I knew everything, and that I was planning to confront her. Her reaction was priceless. She tried to deny everything, call me paranoid, accuse me of stalking her. But I had the evidence, and I was ready to use it. I think that's what finally pushed her into a corner. The night of her supposed meeting, I waited in a hotel nearby, my phone set to record everything. It was tense, almost surreal. I watched her walk in with Mark, her high heels clicking on the floor, that fake smile plastered across her face. I stayed hidden in the shadows, watching her kiss him, whisper things I didn't want to hear. The moment she finally saw me, standing there with my phone in hand recording the whole thing, her face shifted into pure panic. She tried to lie, to deny, to manipulate her way out of it, but it was too late. The evidence was there, clear as day. I didn't yell. I didn't scream. I just stood there, watching her crumble under the weight of her own lies. Mark looked surprised, maybe even a little guilty, like he knew how badly he'd screwed up. Rachel, on the other hand, looked murderous. That bitch's eyes flashed with anger, but I could see the fear behind them. She knew she'd been caught. I played the recording for her right then and there. Her face turned red with rage, and she started throwing every excuse, every lie she could think of. She was lonely, she was stressed, she didn't really love Mark, she didn't mean for it to happen. But none of that mattered anymore. The damage was done. At that moment I realized I'd won the emotional battle, not because I'd caught her cheating, because I already knew she was a manipulative, selfish woman. It was because I'd finally taken control of the situation. I showed her that I wasn't some fool she could string along anymore. That evening, I walked away from her, knowing that I had finally turned the tables, that she'd be left to deal with her own lies and consequences. And Mark? Well, I made sure he knew I had the evidence. I told him to think about what he'd done, that he'd lost a good friend for some fleeting sex. The aftermath was a whirlwind of feelings I can't even fully describe. I felt a strange mixture of relief, anger, and a tiny sense of empowerment. I'd taken back some control in what felt like a world gone mad. I'd exposed her manipulations, shown her I wasn't a fool, and I made Mark face the reality of his betrayal. But beneath all that, there was a deep, aching sadness, because I still loved her, or at least I did, and now I knew I'd been played. That heartbreak was the hardest thing I've ever had to face. After that night, everything changed. I cut her out of my life completely. No calls, no messages, just silence. She tried to reach out, of course. First, with tearful texts claiming she was sorry, saying she loved me and begging me to forgive her. Then with angry calls accusing me of ruining everything, of being jealous and controlling. But I didn't respond. I knew that whatever she was trying to do, it wouldn't undo what she'd done or fix what she'd broken. Honestly, I felt a strange mix of relief and emptiness. Part of me was glad I finally saw her true colors, that I had proof and had taken back control. But another part felt hollow, like I'd lost someone I once loved, someone I'd trusted with everything. That betrayal cut so deep, I wondered if I'd ever heal from it. I kept replaying those moments, her lies, her manipulations, her fake tears, and I realized how naive I'd been to think I had a partner who truly cared about me. I also had to deal with Mark, my best friend. When I confronted him that night, I didn't hold back. I told him I never wanted to see him again, that he'd thrown away years of friendship for a quick sex affair. I made it clear I didn't want him in my life anymore, not after he betrayed my trust so completely. To my surprise, he didn't try to defend himself much. Instead, he looked ashamed, a little broken, knowing he'd crossed a line. I told him to leave me alone and never come near me again. That's when I started focusing on myself. I needed to pick up the pieces and rebuild after everything. The pain was still there, but I refused to let it consume me. I threw myself into work, started hitting the gym more often, and tried to surround myself with friends who actually cared. It was the only way I knew to cope. I didn't want to be that guy who lets betrayal ruin him, but honestly, it's hard. Sometimes I'd lie awake at night and think about what I lost, what I'll never get back, my future, my trust, that sense of security I once had. Looking back, I realize I learned a lot from all this. First, never ignore the small signs. If someone consistently acts distant or secretive, don't brush it off. Second, trust your instincts. If something feels off, it probably is. And third, you can't control other people's choices, only how you respond to them. I wish I'd seen the warning signs sooner, but I also know I can't change what's already happened. All I can do now is move forward, stronger for having gone through it. Most importantly, I've come to understand that true strength isn't just about pretending everything's okay. It's about facing the truth, no matter how ugly it is. I may have been blindsided, but I refused to let her manipulate me into feeling like I was the crazy one. I took control of my life again, and that's what matters most now. I'm still healing, still figuring out how to trust again, but I know I'll get there. Eventually. And I guess that's the lesson I'd give anyone else in a similar situation. Don't let betrayal define you. Take back your power, face the truth, and don't be afraid to walk away if that's what it takes. Now, looking back, I realize that I should have seen the signs sooner, but I also understand that nobody's perfect. People lie, betray, manipulate, it's part of life, and how we deal with it defines who we are. I used to think I was invincible, that my love and trust could fix everything. Turns out, even the strongest can be broken, but the important part is how you rebuild afterward. I've learned that betrayal cuts deep, but it also forces you to confront your own strength. It's not about revenge or getting even. It's about reclaiming your life, your dignity, and your future. I won't let her lie or her manipulations keep controlling me. I've come to accept that she was never truly the person I thought she was, just a pretty face hiding a manipulative, selfish mind. Now I'm moving forward, not because I want to forget, but because I want to learn. I want to find someone who values honesty and loyalty, someone who isn't afraid to be real. I've realized that the trust I lost isn't something I can just rebuild overnight, but I can rebuild myself stronger, wiser, and more cautious. To anyone reading this who's been betrayed, I want to say, you're not alone. It hurts, it's brutal, and you'll question everything. But don't let that pain define you. Take your time to heal, step away from the chaos, and focus on what truly matters: your peace, your happiness, your worth. Trust me, the world keeps turning, and so should you. Life goes on, and sometimes it's only after the storm that we find the clarity to build something new. I'm not the same man I was a few months ago, but I'm grateful for the lessons I've learned. That girl, Mark, my own naivety, all of it has taught me to be better, to be smarter, and to value myself more. I don't regret what happened because it brought me here, to a place where I finally see my worth, and that's the real victory.